John, we'd like you to maybe show us your battle stations on the ship, or where you were on the ship later.
Yeah.
Or maybe have that in some of the stuff you have. And then what I'd like to make for you, to give to you, is a map that shows the West Virginia, but very much enlarged, like just the West Virginia and just Battleship Row, but big, really big. And show where you were, where your battle stations were. And obviously you've got all these incredible pictures of that day. And so real quickly, why don't you go ahead and put that in front of him while I finish up.
Okay,
So believe it or not,
this is color correction.
we're not just actually interested just in your Pearl Harbor story. Obviously that's incredible and historic, but we want to hear about your whole life, John, before the war, after the war, and of course then even you went all across the Pacific, but more importantly, we want to hear about you, the person. And obviously if you've landed here in Concord and in Yuma, Arizona, you have a happy ending. So we just want to hear all about your story, and I guess you were married?
Yes.
A little bit about your wife if you want to. And thank you, and thank you very much.
And most people start out with, you know, when and where they were born and who their parents were and siblings and, you know, what they did as a kid and how they got to be in the Navy, and they just go from there. Are you ready?
I'm going to go get something to drink, I guess. So why don't you guys hang on and I'll just...
Oh, he's got to get a Pepsi.
I got Pepsi's in there.
Oh, it's okay. We didn't come here to drink all your stuff up. Well, this is a beautiful room. I really like it. You must spend a lot of time out here.
Yeah, there was a big walnut tree in here,
Oh.
and we lost it, so she wanted an outside garden room, so I built this room in here, and I built all the steel work.
Wow. That's impressive.
She just wanted for flowers, but then she said, well, let's
and
make a
relax.
door and go into the attic so she can go right up there and puts all her paint stuff right up in the attic
Oh,
there.
it's a storage room there, huh? Like a storage room. So she could just walk up here then and close the door like right there. Wow.
Yeah, there's a door right up there you can see.
I didn't even notice that till you pointed it out.
Okay, so I'm going to make this noise. Okay, off we go.
Okay. Okay, I guess we're good to go. So go ahead and say your name and where you were born and.
Oh. You want to start now?
Mhm.
Okay, my name is John Chapman. I was a survivor from the USS West Virginia, and I was in the Navy 23 years. So I was born in San Francisco November 7th, 1922. I went to school in San Francisco, and during the Depression, things were kind of tough. My dad used to work for the Southern Pacific Railroad, and he got hurt uncoupling the cars. Somebody didn't hear the whistle blow, and the car hit him in the back, and he broke his back and put him in the hospital, in the Southern Pacific Hospital. And while he was there, he got tuberculosis, and we couldn't see him, so he had to separate from my mother and go up into Napa. He got a piece of land up there, as long as he could put a house on it, and then the land was his, so he had to stay there for 7 years before we could get together again. So he used to raise rabbits and sell their meat to the hospital there in Napa. And in the meantime, my mother was deaf. She lost her hearing when she had some disease, and when she was 16. So when I was born in 1922 in San Francisco, they, my dad said that my mother was deaf, so they sent some people over there to see her, and I had a sister, Inez, and she was born 18 months after I was born. So they took both of us and put us in a home in San Francisco, and so we were kind of under the care of the state until I was 16. So at that time they said I could go to work somewhere, so I decided I liked chickens and cows, and so they found a place in Petaluma. So I went there and I stayed there with them until I was 17, and I decided I wanted to make a little more money. So a friend of ours got me a job in a big dairy ranch in Petaluma, and they had 500 Jersey cows. So I started milking for them, running 2 needle valve milkers. So I had 4 men that would follow me after I milk them and to strip the cows. So we had to get up every morning at 2 o'clock to start milking cows, and we got through about 6 o'clock in the morning, and I tried to go back to school there, and I just couldn't keep awake during the school days. It got too rough. I got so sleepy because I had to get up at 2 o'clock every morning, and it just got too hard. So I always had my idea that I would join the Navy, because when I was in San Francisco, I used to watch the fleet come in on Fleet Week and watch all the ships, and we'd go down to the ferry building, and they'd have ships down there. They would take all the people that wanted to these battleships. So we'd go and visit all these different battleships, and it's quite during the Depression, people didn't have enough money. They had big longs of lines, standing in line for an apple or a sandwich. And I got going these battleships, and you get on there, they'd always feed you fried chicken. So I thought, boy, this is really nice. If I could go into battleships when I was old enough, I'm going to join the Navy, and I have a place to sleep, and I have my food, and just like it was unbelievable. So when I was 18, I went down and talked to the Navy down there, and they said, well, you got to have a high school diploma. I said, well, I don't have a high school diploma. I only went to the 9th grade. He said, well, come on back and we'll give you a test, a high school test. So during my time in milking, I got some school books, and I would always study them. And it was kind of a high school, they say you could get your promotion in high school there if you read the book and took all the tests. So I was doing that while I was milking the cows. So I went down, took to the federal building, and it took me about an hour to take the test, and they looked at it and they said, well, looks like you passed. You've done a very high mark on here, considering you only went to the 9th grade. And well, I said I've been studying my high school book, and I was able to get a high enough mark. They accepted me in the Navy, so I went down and joined. And November 7th on my birthday, and from there they sent me down to San Diego to the Navy training school down there, and went through the training, and they, while we were there, we could put in a request for any ship. So I figured, well, I'm going to put on a ship, the California, because I was in from California, but I didn't get that. I got the West Virginia, which is the battleship that was put on there in 1941, January 1941. And while we were in Long Beach Harbor there was 3 battleships there, the California, the Tennessee, and the West Virginia. And one day, the Roosevelt came aboard our ship, and he couldn't walk, but they put a boatswain's chair down there, and they pulled him up on the deck, and they brought his wheelchair, and we were all in line, and he went down between the different lines of sailors, and he said, well, looks like we're going to have some trouble. The England's in war, and it looks kind of bad. So we're going to send all the battleships we've got down to Pearl Harbor, and then we'll start operating out down there. So we arrived down there, and the water was so pretty, and weather was nice. So our job was, we had 8 battleships down there, and we'd go 4 battleships. We'd go out for 2 weeks and circle all the Hawaiian Islands for 2 weeks. And while we were there, we would fire guns, and we'd have all kinds of battle exercises. And we had to learn all the different types of aircraft and ships, and we'd come into port. We could stay in port for 2 weeks, and then we'd have to go out again. So we did that for a whole year. 4 battleships on port, on control, and 4 battleships were in port. And so one day in 1941, it was in around Thanksgiving, we came in, and they said they were going to tie all the battleships up, that we wouldn't be going out, and they couldn't fly any planes, so they secured all the planes. So it was a tough situation. The admiral there was really upset because Roosevelt felt that if the ships were out there, they could sink them all and lose them. He said he thought they would be safer in port, but he was wrong, because they didn't put any cargo nets up around the ships for torpedoes, and they blocked the harbor off, and only a few ships would go out and circle just around the Hawaiian Islands. They didn't go any further than that, and they stopped all their aircraft from searching, and it got really bad. So